This building is America's secret weapon in the industrial arms race against China. This is the NEO factory, just unveiled by 1X Technologies. It's the first true vertically integrated humanoid robot factory in the United States. We're talking about every single component, motors, wiring, software, and hardware, all done completely in-house. This is American manufacturing and innovation at its best. But it's here where the first 100% American-made humanoid robots are being built to ship to customers' homes later this year. And when my friends at 1X called me up and said, "We want to show you our next generation of robots before the rest of the world," I booked the first flight to Palo Alto to check it out. And for something this insane, you don't want to experience it alone. So I called up my friends Kit and David and told them to meet me at the 1X factory. And once we got there, Bernt, the founder and CEO, and Vikram, the VP of Operations, were ready to show us everything 1X had been working on for the next phase of NEO's launch. But before we got to meet NEO, Bernt needed to tell us the backstory first, one that's been 30 years in the making. I remember meeting you a year and a half ago. The office 100th the size of this. I think I saw the version 1 of NEO, and so the progress has been incredible, man. So I first just want to congratulate you on all of the growth this last year and a half. Tell me about it.
It's been a long journey. 2026 is finally the year where we're going to finally get to experience this and like see where it's going. And I think 2027, for most people, this will have an impact in their life.
You were looking at a construction site and you found, an excavator, and you were inspired to build a humanoid robot. And now so many years later, we're here. I mean, it must feel surreal.
I still can't quite find the logic between like excavator and humanoid, but as an 11-year-old, it was there. I think over the next decade, the entire substrate of society will change. The demography of people who are able to work is shrinking. And as we all age, we also have more work taking care of each other. Everyone will move from I have to do this to I want to do this. If we want to really keep increasing our standard of living and improving our lives, then we need to use technology. And I think ultimately in my lifetime, I think we will create artificial life. We will change the substrate of society. We can hopefully build a world without a button. Always just wanted to be a part of that. And there's this magic when you can take code, you can type some code, and you can have something move in the physical world.
NEO, I met your former self about a year and a half ago. How are you? I'm Roberto. He's showing you his dominance.
Oh.
Like when my NEO arrives at my home, what can I expect it to do straight out of the box?
I'm gonna make a big claim, and then let's see if we can back it up. When you get your NEO, it'll be able to attempt almost anything. So what we have with the world model now, which is so magical to me, is what I would call actual true general intelligence. What the world model is a model that is truly trained on how the world works in a dynamical sense. It's trained on video and also the sensors of the robot. This was also the big unlock in language models. That's why you see the models now being so good at code and being so good at math, because they're easily verifiable problems. Robotics kind of unlocks that for everything. Sometimes it will succeed, sometimes it will fail, but that of course is how you learn. Now we don't have enough data yet and enough experiences that it'll always succeed, but actually quite often it does succeed.
NEO comes in to your home, you open up the package and you hit the button in the back and it stands up and says, "Hi, I'm NEO, what can I do for you?"
So real world example of this, the robot gets delivered, I could say out of the box, "Hey NEO, can you go upstairs and make me a coffee?" And you're confident and be able to do it.
I would maybe pay attention to what the robot is doing. Sure. The first few times as it learns how to do it.
But it learns on itself. The more attempts at it, the better it will be.
Yes. There are what I call easy tasks to re-attempt. If you say like, "Hey NEO, fold this basket of clothing and put it in my closet." And if like it folds a couple of your clothes on, you can throw them back in the basket and say like, "Bad NEO, like do this one again," right?
Conversation, you can just let her know this is how it's done.
Because what happens with the world model is that everything actually collapses into one big omni model that does everything. And when you have a good enough base model, then you can start running reinforcement learning on top of that. It is basically one big intelligent model that captures all of it.
Meeting NEO was great, but seeing the scale of the factory itself was something else altogether.
57,000 square foot factory. We got permits to build this factory sometime in October. The headline here, we want to build a facility that does everything from scratch, from the first atom that goes on the robot all the way to the final product. This is a reality. If you go to any factory and if you don't see this, they're not probably making everything in-house.
Everything you see here, the machines, the materials, the motors, the wiring, is all done in-house, all under one roof. No other facility in the country does this end-to-end. And Bernt told me exactly why this matters. Why is it so important to you and 1X and the company and the ethos here for this to be end-to-end done in America versus having it shipped from overseas?
And actually manufacturing is one of the disciplines of science, right? We're able to go from new CAD of a robot to retooling the line to building the new product introduction builds. We can do that in 4 weeks. And you cannot do this if you cannot go like raw materials all the way to finished product, all on one roof. How quickly can you learn and iterate and make this better and better and better and better? That is what is going to define the next decade, right?
1X is the only one doing end-to-end automation consumer humanoid robots.
As far as I know, yes.
Every section of this building was proof of that philosophy. And walking the factory floor, you could truly see what Bernt meant.
This is our automation team. They come up with software, tooling, and machinery to just automate it. Our entire motor manufacturing is fully automated. 10 people on the line, and we make hundreds and hundreds of motors a week. This is a core capability that we want to develop ourselves so that when we expand to the 1 million bot factory, we have a team that's just going to do it.
The longer our tour went on, the more I began to understand the massive impact for the future of all humanity happening right inside this building.
So this is where the magic happens. You have the hand, you have the elbow, you have the upper leg, lower leg, and foot. This is all 3D printed in-house. This is where the NVIDIA Thor goes, and then we upload the robot OS into the head over here.
Oh man, that's heavier than I thought. Whoa.
This is about 900 grams.
There's no way that's only 1.2 pounds.
Could have hit the gym.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
And once the limbs are put together, that's when we got into the final integration area.
Everything I'd seen here had been incredible. But I kept thinking about my wife and 2 young kids. As a consumer, I was completely sold. But as a parent and a husband, I still had some questions.
What kind of mechanisms do you have to prevent against maybe it going like haywire in somebody's home? Robots are very dangerous machines because they're just big, stiff, heavy, high energy machines. And that's not what we're built. We need to build machines that are compliant, soft, safe, low energy, lightweight, just like us. Now, the second part of it is, of course, how we align our AI to make sure that robots are taking as safe a path to their behaviors as possible. Just like how we do, right? If I'm in your home and you have small kids and I'm gonna go over and grab my coffee cup with hot liquid in it, my brain automatically kind of simulates what can go wrong. The role model allows us to do the same. You can like search through all these potential futures of like what is the safest path that you need to take. For you to fully solve this, you cannot only understand the robot and how the robot affects the world, you also have to fully understand the world, including people.
Every time we build a new robot, is then tested in this area, where it's walking, squatting, running.
All the QA happens in-house as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then it goes into that unit over there and makes a left and it goes out of the doors.
So is it safe to assume then, will Neo be like 24/7 recording everything being transmitted back to your servers? Transparency in these things are quite important. Any device that uses the cloud to run a big AI model needs to send the data to the cloud. What really matters is how we manage that data. Who can see the data? What's the security around the data? And ensuring that we are best in class on privacy and ensuring that you're always in control. And that's something we want to make sure we're transparent on. How do you prevent, I mean, I'm assuming you have like QA and these people are vetted and whatnot. How do we know that they won't be bad actors inside of our homes? If you have someone cleaning your house at home, when you invite them in, there's a vetting process. And I'm pretty confident that we can do a better vetting process than most cleaning agencies can. That being said, I'm getting increasingly confident that when people get their product towards the end of the year and get Neo, if they want a fully autonomous experience, they'll get that.
Once I understood the safety precautions built into Neo, I started thinking about the bigger picture and what this could all really mean for the future of humanity.
20 years from now, are we starting to enter kind of the Star Trek economy where people's value, their contribution is, in the arts and exploration? The answer is clearly yes. It's very hard to predict the short-term timeline, but the long-term impact is pretty clear. If you're saying like, oh, people are going to run out of stuff to do, you're essentially saying there's a limit to human creativity, which I don't think there is. Most of us today work with things that 100 years ago, people would be like, you can do that for a living? We'll find things to do. Simpler said, like, I hope we can move as many people as possible from I have to do this to I want to do this.
The Star Trek vision is one thing, but then Bernt said something that brought this whole thing back down to earth.
The number of like heartwarming letters that we get from people waiting for their Neos. It's just like, I can't wait till I get my Neo. It will completely change my life. People who just being able to like get something in the fridge or pick something up from the floor is life-changing.
That's who Neo is truly built for. And the letters 1X is already receiving from customers who have pre-ordered their Neo make that clear.
2027, your prediction is like, it's the year where Neo becomes very useful to the average consumer. 2027 is where it's going to be very useful to the average consumer. A lot of work will move towards being no longer something you do yourself, but how you manage these embodied agents that is carrying out your work. And this is what Neo will be doing, where we can really empower the people that are doing the work today to just become higher leverage and get way more done by taking the knowledge they have about what they're doing, having it carried out by delegation and ensure quality.
And if Bernt is right about the timeline, the real impact of Neo is much closer than people think.
20,000 robots pushing out by end of year, 100,000 I think by 27 was that the goal? We'll see. But what's important to me is we promised consumers that we will ship in 2026. We will ship something that's amazing. You only get to ship the first time once, so you want to make sure it's really freaking great.
Before we leave the factory floor, there's one more thing I needed to show you. The numbers and data behind Neo only tell part of the story. That mural is 1X's North Star.
NEO just fully integrated into human society, helping humans and extending their capabilities rather than replace humans.
For some people, this might just look like a cool painting, but for Bernt, it's the future he's been focused on creating since he was 11 years old.
How surreal does this feel? The 11-year-old version of Bernt, dreaming up this future, tinkering around with robotics. All of a sudden you're here in a, 100,000 square foot facility actually building this and bringing it to life. It's completely surreal. And at the same time, it's very real. You know, when you're 11-year-old, you're just full of enthusiasm. I would build soapbox cars in the garage with my dad, and we would do full welded aluminum lightweight frames. This was very early, Japan, first few versions of the Asimo. Growing up reading all these books and watching these movies about robotics. What actually literally made me cry a bit was we released NEO on the consumer launch, and I was standing on Times Square and I was looking up at NEO on Times Square, and we were celebrating. As the father of 2 kids, the number of engineers that we hopefully created that day, that's maybe one of the most things dearest to my heart right now.
So you still have the childlike wonder.
How can you not have a childlike wonder in life? All right, I think we got it. This is brilliant. Awesome. Always a pleasure, man. This is incredible.
That same creative spirit of the 11-year-old boy who saw an excavator and decided to build the first humanoid robot, it's still there. And that's what this entire building is. One person's childlike wonder scaled to a 58,000 square foot workshop that's shaping the future of humanity. Bernt never truly stopped being that same kid at heart. He just figured out how to make what that kid imagined a reality. Hearing the story of what it took to get here and seeing the scale of the factory itself and meeting the talented and dedicated people working here every day to push humanity forward was something I'll never forget.
It's a good final question. Oh, yes. Well, you didn't press record, huh?